Our 2015 Computex coverage is brought to you by Fantex, Nvidia, Corsair, NCIX, Silverstone, and InWin. Make sure to support them for helping us bring this great content to you. There were two new cases announced from Fractal Design and Computex, both targeting the ITX crowd. The first one is the Node 202. This slim tower-like chassis is getting more attention, and I'm happy to see Fractal's version of it. It's a very simple exterior shell, keeping to that minimalistic design, something that Fractal Design is known for. At the front there's a pair of USB 3 ports, audio jacks, and a power button, and the Node 202 stands on this base for vertical orientation that I personally love. However, can be placed in a horizontal position as well, where a Fractal Design logo would be properly showcased, as otherwise it's on an angle when vertically placed. At the back there are two PCI brackets, and a dual slot GPU can be installed right above, utilizing a PCI bracket. And given the interior placement of an SFX power supply, here's your power input at the back. And here's the internal layout. In the top right is an ITX motherboard spot with CPU coolers up to 56mm supported, and an SFX power supply right below up to 130mm long. And you can notice all the case cables are black and already pre-routed into the main chamber. For storage, the Node 202 can only accommodate dual 2.5-inch drives. Every ventilation port is dust-proof, that's really good to see. There's one big filter for the GPU chamber, one for the CPU, and one for the power supply. GPUs up to 310mm will fit, and I noticed the spacer in the middle, most likely to make sure the GPU does not bend and make contact with the fans, as there are two 120mm fan mounts in the GPU chamber. Also, one thing I noticed with the front I/O cables is they are pretty thick, and thus a long GPU would overlap this area, and I'm a little worried about proper cabling and making sure the GPU can comfortably sit there. The riser card for the PCI slot was not present on a showcase sample, but it will be included with the Node 202, and at $79 you are looking at a well-rounded ITX case. I personally love these slim designs. The other case they've announced is the Core 500. I think it should have been placed in the Node category, but it shares the exterior elements with the Core series, so that makes sense. This is an ITX design as well, with two PCI brackets and a silent R3 140mm fan at the back included for exhaust. All of the ventilation ports come with magnetic dust filters, something I'm really happy to see for this form factor. Taking a look inside, we find a fairly similar layout to their Node 304 case, but this time without all the drive caddies. Instead, there's a 5.25-inch drive bay and a 3.5-inch drive bay right underneath. For storage, we get an SSD mount at the front with appropriate cutouts to the side for routing your SATA cables. The rear bracket can support dual 3.5 and 2.5-inch drives at the same time, with these rubber grommets available to prevent vibrations, and the Core 500 can accommodate ATX power supplies up to 140mm to maintain compatibility for GPUs up to 310mm. And so here I wish an SFX power supply mount was available. But the most impressive part about this case is its water cooling support with this top bracket. This would allow you to mount radiators up to 280mm, so you can install an all-in-one CPU cooler, no problem, plus the bracket is removable for easier installation. All in all, the new releases from Fractal Design mark an ever-rising trend for ITX systems, combined with efficient layouts, dust-proof ventilation, and gaming ready if needed. So it's exactly what I want to see from case manufacturers moving forward. So let us know which of these cases you'd like us to review first, the Node 202 or the Core 500, so we can build our own systems into it and tell you the full story.